Need a presenter? Your Event Audio has you covered. Closed circuit audio equipment with turnkey operation at your trade show booth, live event, or private event. YourEventAudio.com is the place to go. DJ services, MC talent, and a whole lot more. Check out YourEventAudio.com today.
Welcome to our March 8th edition, 2024, for the Exhibitor Now podcast from the Exhibitor Group. I'm Mike Morrison, National Sales Director for WS Displays. You can tell on your screen, joining me now for our second go-round as our new format for the Exhibitor Now podcast is Kim Gischler, the Chief Content Strategist for the Exhibitor Group and the Associate Publisher of Exhibitor Magazine. I've worked on that all weekend, making sure I got that right.
It is a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, and now I've got cheat cards that I can work off of and make sure I get that right in the future because I got scolded on that one. No, seriously. Hope you have a safe trip home. Looks like you made it, and now we're back to the grind, right?
Yes. It's called going through all those emails that you put to the side, and then you have to go back and figure it all out again and make sure that you're in the right order. But the good news is, I took a little time, went back, we're in Nashville, went up to Louisville, spent the weekend with the Bourbon Trail. So now I'm back and we're getting a lot of things done. So it's all good.
So you're advocating the Bourbon Trail for all of us after a show in order to get our head back straight. Is that it?
No, I just planned it accordingly.
Planning. Wow, there's something. For a show that's working off the hip. That's pretty good to hear. Let's dive into some bullet points, what we call Post-Exhibitor Live Week, okay? Because that's where we stand right now. That's where we're at. We're settling back into our normal routines in our home offices. In our case, others are going back to the office after spending a week or so in a resort off-site. And I'll just say this, for me personally, when I come back to my home office in this environment, I get a lot done, as opposed to a resort hotel room where I'm a little bit challenged because there's people there. I do have to man the face-to-face that's going on there, but then those emails keep coming and those phone calls keep coming, and you get challenged maybe by the operation back in the corporate office and so forth. What are your thoughts on that? What's more effective, your home office or being on the road?
Well, I think there are pros and cons to both. The home office is, you can get some distractions, but you can get a lot done at home. But here's the thing, when you're on site and you're in your hotel room and people are coming at you, there is this tendency to want to answer every question real time. And sometimes those questions, you can do more harm than good by doing that. So you kind of need to take some pause, kind of really think about it, get the answer. So you're only answering one email, not 12. So that's from years and years of experience. But I will say we always forget because we want to please everyone. So my thing on site is that I just have to take a pause and really understand what the question is and make sure I'm answering it correctly. Now, when I get home, it's this great time of, okay, download internally what went well, what could improve on, how we can make it better. I mean, this was such a phenomenal experience this last week, just with the team and the people and being back. And so it's kind of digesting all of it, putting it in sound bites and trying to figure out, okay, how do we make it, incorporate everything we've learned, incorporate everything we've done, and how do we make it more successful for years to come?
Funny you mentioned that about Exhibitor Live specifically, because my next bullet point, I took off of social media. There's a gentleman I've known for 20 plus years, name's Dave Stern. He is the owner of an organization here in Atlanta known as the Inside Track, and he does a lot on social media. And just before we came on this show, he posted his 4 takeaways specifically from Exhibitor Live. Number 1, he made the statement that shows are the new corporate conference room. I thought that was profound, and on that, he says, great news for all of us. Employers are sending their remote workers and their in-person staff to industry conferences and their teams so they can meet in person and collaborate. Very, very good, strong takeaway. Number 2, more first-time attendees and exhibitors we're seeing here at Exhibitor Live, and we can expect to see higher attendance at shows and more first-time attendees. And the trend that we picked off of this particular show was a 40% more buyer and more potential buyers attended the show than the previous year. So that's a big takeaway. Number 3, customers are actively leveraging AI. That word has been those letters.
Buzzword this year. The
buzzword, huge buzzword.
Yeah.
AI, AR, VR, name it. It's all a part of it. Professionals throughout our industry are using artificial intelligence to streamline tasks from planning sessions to evaluating proposals. Big takeaway here. The first look at your carefully written proposal may be with AI, which tells us that maybe you should be using AI so that your sister over on the other end of it, AI, can speak the same language, I guess, if I put it into plain words. Finally, sustainability. It's the buzzword. It's where it's at right now. Sustainability, reducing waste, and eco-friendly were phrases heard all show long. Anything you can add to those bullet points?
So I think we could do another podcast on AI alone, because I was in another meeting with a group of client side event marketers, and there's other concerns. They brought up concerns that I didn't even think about. Just with it's out there. So how do you protect it? Once it's out there, it's out there. So how do you protect yourself and all that stuff? So there's a whole nother, stay tuned, I should say, because we're probably going to be bringing that to everyone. I will echo the sustainability. I mean, it took a back seat for a lot of years, and it was a big buzzword, I think 15 years ago. And then it's always been there hovering, but it's never been as more pronounced as it has been this year. So I think we're going to see more of that. I think people are more passionate about it. I think we're calling people more on it, on what they're doing. We're starting to, as Exhibitor Live, trying to get more how we can start getting talking the talk, walk the walk kind of thing. So we're starting to invest more in that for next year. So there's a lot of opportunity there, but I would agree with sustainability. I would also agree with what he said about face-to-face, you can't beat it. I mean, Mike, we've talked about this at length on getting those conversations, people are so into the texting or emails, and you know what, just pick up the phone and call them, and you're going to get it done in 2 seconds. I'm a big fan of, less is more, bringing all those people in, having those conversations face to face, getting it done, figuring out how to move forward and going, making a decision, moving on. So you can't beat it. And that's what we're here for. And that's what we should stay at.
Yeah, I think Dave was spot on all of those. The only thing I would say, and this is personal opinion, and I'll set myself up to get knocked down on it. I think when it comes to sustainability, there should be a phrase before it that says common sense sustainability. I really feel that if we could focus on the ones we can achieve and make immediate impacts, that would be great. Sometimes, opinion again, we go way outside the box, and it may not.
You don't need to boil the ocean.
Thank you. That's a good one. I like that. I'm gonna write that one down from you. Aunt Kim there, and then I'll steal that one from you. But yeah, other than that, I think it's spot on.
And I think people need to have some grace on how they measure that, because we're doing something. It's better than nothing. So let's have some, understanding that we're trying and we can't do everything, but let's really compliment and praise the people that are trying to do what they can do with the dollars they have available to them, because not everyone can do it. It is expensive sometimes, and we need to honor that and say that, okay, what you're doing, if it's even from, we're reusable bottles at a show when we're doing this, it's something. So I think we need to be very complimentary of those that are trying.
Good points. And like you said, that could be a whole nother podcast that we can't do today, but
right.
Good thinking points for the future. So Exhibitor Live's in the books, the 2024 version. And so now, what's the focus for Exhibitor Group moving for the remainder of the calendar for 2024?
Well, we just literally had a meeting a few minutes ago, literally before I came on to talk to you about, we did post discussion on what we could do well, what we can improve on for next year. We're focusing on, now we're doing the fast tracks. We're trying to bring that all together in Vegas, magazine, of course. But now we're starting to plan for 2025, and we're waiting really on those surveys that we did for the attendee survey, with which hopefully all of you are filling out, and you're going to give me your opinion on what we can do to improve. And but I'm a data freak. I love knowing, how people think, what they feel, what they want to do, it's there's this way of, a lot of event marketers have this very amazing gift of being able to see 12 things at once and be able to fix them all at once. So I really value those surveys, and it's also for the content too. So I don't want to leave out the CTSM, the education that was actually taking place there. And, we value those opinions as well. I think, he mentioned that 40% new people. Well, why are they new? Are they going to come back? How do we retain that? How do we keep them coming back? And how do we add that value? And how do we keep innovation going and the trends, all that education moving forward? So that's something that I know Monica is incredibly passionate about. So we're kind of, it's a new phase. We all had to kind of be there because a lot of us are new, and we had to see how it all worked. And now we have digested it all, and we're kind of saying, okay, how do we make it better? How do we really, really make everyone come together and feel like a community again and have a great customer experience? And how do we have it as a family? And I know that's a broad term, but in my experience, if you're attentive to every person, then they're part of that family and you're listening to them. So that's kind of our goal. I know it's a big, big goal, but done it before, we can do it again. So all good.
So what I'm hearing is an assessment time, right? In the immediate
It's an assessment time, Mike. And it's also, again, I'll bring up that term, boil the ocean. We're not going to do it. We're going to pick top 3-4 things that we know that we can correct and do well, or keep and continue to do. And we're going to focus on those and move those forward. And then, we'll drop down. And do those other ones. But I'm really trying to keep everyone really focused on that.
Sounds good. So as we move into our interview time, a big subtopic, or a big topic, it's not a subtopic, a big topic that we looked at and talked about with one of our guests is charity and the give back factor. And I was shocked when we did this discussion with a young lady by the name of Emily Winters, CEO of Strings for Hope, based out of Nashville. And a lot of you who were at Exhibitor, maybe you went by her booth and looked at the jewelry that they do there, and may have even went as far as get in depth as to what their story is. If you missed it, we've got it coming up here on the Exhibitor Now podcast. So take a quick break and come back with a discussion with Emily Winters here on the show, and we'll do that right after this.
Attention, trade show and event marketing professionals. Are you ready to take your face-to-face marketing expertise to the next level? Join more than 3,000 candidates currently enrolled in Exhibitor Group's Certified Trade Show Marketer Program. CTSM is corporate America's top source of the industry's best trade show and corporate event training. CTSM certified trade show marketers enjoy expanded career opportunities, greater respect and authority in their organizations, and earn higher salaries than their acronym-free peers. Learn more, earn more. Visit ctsm.com today. Welcome back to Exhibitor Live and the Exhibitor Now podcast. We're having these great interviews and discussions with a lot of the attendees, exhibitors, CTSMers, corporate event marketers, everything in between. So this time we'll let Kim take over and introduce our guest at this time.
I'm thrilled to introduce this lady, Emily Winters with Strings for Hope, our give back, I guess you could say, for Exhibitor Live, and known Emily for a very long time. It's so welcome. And first of all, and I also have another Emily, so this is going to be very creative here, how we do this. We have Emily Olson, our editor of the Exhibitor magazine, and I've got the bookends, which are wonderful. So we're going to have Kim's going to try to figure out which Emily I'm going to talk to, but I will start with the Emily for Strings for Hope. How are you? Thank you for doing this today. And so what are you thinking of all this? How's it going?
I mean, this has been amazing, and it's like an arcade here. I feel like walking into this place, I'm like overstimulated by all the amazing exhibitors and all the amazing people, and it's just so fun. But yeah, I am just so thankful that you guys reached back out.
Well, we adore what you do. We adore, and can you tell us now what Strings for Hope is and kind of what your mission and vision and all of that?
Yeah, so we are a social enterprise here in town, and we take recycled musical strings, broken strings, and turn them into everyday jewelry. And for any of you who are actually watching, I know Emily is wearing one of our necklaces right now. But yeah, our whole goal is to employ and empower survivors of addiction, human trafficking, and domestic abuse by providing employment and work development program for them. And so being here, it not only gives us a voice, it gives us a platform to sell our product and introduce it to all these exhibitors who are able to also, book us for other things. So it's just very exciting.
You mentioned the sustainable piece. So kind of give us an idea, because I know that's a pretty large number that you have recycled for the guitar strings.
Yeah, so we've recycled over 10,000 pounds of recycled. I know, it's so many. Doing the math, it's very heavy. And that turns into so many pieces of jewelry, I can't even keep track. But ultimately, we get strings from anyone and everyone. So we have artists who play downtown who are like busking for free, to famous artists like Cody Johnson has donated his strings, and we're now working with like his team. And so it's been really cool, but keeping them out of the landfill is just one piece of that sustainable process. We're now educating people about sustainability, educating the women that we work with, but also educating conferences, exhibitors about the impact they can make just by purchasing a piece of our product, or just learning about how you can keep these toxic metals out of the landfill.
Curious, we're talking about sustainability and how your business is growing, which is also exciting. What impact does that have on the survivors that you're assisting as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the main thing is jobs for them. So we go into these facilities, these partnered facilities that are residential homes. And when working with survivors of addiction, trafficking, and abuse, you're typically looking at women who have not had the opportunity to have a sustainable job, or maybe they have, because the statistics are 1 in 3 women have been affected by these things. So looking at this huge room, it's very relevant. But ultimately, when you're in that situation and you're in those facilities, a job is the last thing that's on your mind. And so having a safe space to work with your hands, which is a very much so therapeutic thing to do when you're recovering from anything you've been through. And then just building those foundational skills of moving from making the jewelry to selling the jewelry, and to doing more opportunities within our program. That's the main impact. Our goal is to not just impact them, but their generations to come, keep them out of that reoccurring situation that they find themselves in.
So I'm curious, you say that, I guess there's 2 questions here. Sorry. How many are actually working for you right now? I mean, is it like, do you have a certain amount that you have, or is it, and how many have you helped?
Yeah, so I'm so proud to say we've worked and employed, paid over 100 women since I joined in 2015, 2014, my bad. And right now, so we have a work development program that's a year long, and so it's consists of 3 to 4 phases. Phase 1, we meet you where you're at emotionally, physically, mentally. We go into the facilities, and we're there 2 hours a week, so it's very intro level. You're still going through therapy, and so we'll be there and teach them the foundational skills, something to do with your hands, right? You're making a little bit of it. And then after 3 months of that, you graduate and move into phase 2 and phase 3, and more job opportunities, more doors open. So after that year-long experience with us, you graduate the program and you can stay on board. We'll hire you if we're hiring, especially if you want to move up into management roles, marketing, social, whatever it may be, or we'll help you find another job. And so right now we have, I want to say 10 women in the program, but as far as full-time survivors that we've employed that are still with us right now, we have 5. And then, stories endlessly of like people who have come and go and moved on into different situations.
I think it's so neat as I'm walking on the show floor. Your jewelry is so striking. It's so instantly recognizable, and I'm seeing it everywhere. Rings, bracelets. I'm wearing your necklace. I see earrings. You and I were talking yesterday about how wrong my assumptions were about how you made the jewelry. I thought it was strings wrapped, but you explained it to me differently. How is the jewelry made?
Yeah, so we do obviously wrap some of our classic collection. That's where we started. That's where, when you guys officially found us, Olga and Kim, shout out to Olga, we were wrapping the jewelry back then. And then when the pandemic happened, I realized for people to find value in this, for us to move towards working with big conventions and trade shows and working with private groups, we want something that's going to last a long time, and we want quality. And we want y'all to value it just as much as the survivors value it. And so that comes with like a price or whatever. So we worked on metalsmithing. And so now we are soldering that, we're pressing the string, we're flattening it. There's all these different ways that we work with it. So yeah, it's a whole artisan work.
That's a cool evolution to hear about how you've evolved over the years.
I have a question regarding geography here. You're based in Nashville, okay? Do you see, because obviously Music City, USA makes that very simple, but there are other areas in LA, maybe Texas, maybe somewhere else that strings come to play. Is there any expansion there or discussion, or is it pretty much doing well at where it sits?
Well, there are plans, goals of mine to expand. And it doesn't have to just be music, right? I think for us, looking at what Emily's wearing right now, it just looks like a necklace. And that is the goal. We want it to be whatever it means to you. So if Kim loves it because you love music and you're like, this is a piece of Nashville, literally, that you're wearing, then great. But if the reason is because of sustainability or because of the survivors that we're employing, it can mean something to everyone. And we look at that as far as expansion as well. So we're looking at like other cities like LA. We're also, and with that, it's a lot of work and a lot of development and a lot of team. And so for us to get our foot in the door, our goal is to actually travel and do more shows like this in different locations. And we've actually been able to do that. So we had a private group through a DMC reach out, a few months ago, and we got the opportunity to travel to St. Louis, and which is random. There's music everywhere, but it was just for them. It was about the give back. So it's been great.
So basically, we're running up on a time spot, and I do want to ask a final question. If our listeners and viewers want to learn more about your association and what you do, your organization rather, what information can you tell us online or phone numbers or everything else you can tell us?
Yeah, well, you can just go to stringsforhope.com and learn a lot there as far as like the things that we offer, and purchasing the items and the sustainability aspect. We also are in booth 510 over here, so people can come see us over there at Exhibitor Live. And then we have different QR codes scattered about where you're able to scan and learn more about our services of the other things that we offer, like live site activations and stuff.
I just am thrilled that you're here. I'm glad it all worked out. You are inspiration, and I'm so excited that we get to have you again. So I look forward to the next time, the next fun, I said it again, the next, I have a problem with the word fun.
Fun.
But I haven't said it lately.
No, you haven't.
So anyway, we're looking to see how your journey goes, and please stay in touch. You're part of the family now, so we're excited about it.
Yeah.
We enjoyed that discussion. We're going to take a quick break, come back and wrap things up for this week's show right after this.
Are you searching for trade show and event products and services? Find It on Exhibitor Exchange is your complete buyer's guide to trade show exhibiting and events, featuring the trade show industry's top exhibit and display providers.
Find It on Exhibitor Exchange is the industry's best shopping and commerce resource for buyers and sellers of exhibit and event products and services. Reaching 20,000 exhibit and event buyers in every print issue of Exhibitor magazine and 140,000 exhibit and event buyers online each year. Search the listings or list your company today. Learn more at exhibitoronline.com/findit.
Well, thank you all for coming back. We are so very appreciative of Emily Winters, the CEO of Strings for Hope, being able to come over and really tell us all about what has been going on with that whole charity. And I've got some really cool news for you, Mike.
Okay.
You ready
Shoot.
for this?
Yes.
I'm very, very honored to say that we, Strings for Hope, raised $13,000 in 2 days.
Wow.
for their charity, which is why this is so important. It's phase 1 and phase 2 it covered. So for those listeners that don't know, and I'm going to cheat here, I'm going to look at my phone because she sent me the thing on it. If I can get it up here, it's phase 1 and phase 2. And for those that don't know what that is, phase 1 is the first 3 months where they meet the survivors and they make sure that they're physically, mentally, and emotionally ready to move on to phase 2. So we covered phase 1 and phase 2, so they can come bring someone in for part-time to help them work inside Strings for Hope. And that to me is worth everything. And again, we can do a whole nother, I want to bring Emily back on and find out exactly, get more in depth on how people can use this in the future. But I am thrilled, and I know you are too, because you bought some jewelry for your for some loved ones in your family. So it's a good story.
It really is. And my question about expansion during that, I may have caught her off guard a little bit. And it goes back to that sub statement we made a minute ago. You can't boil the ocean. You can't do it all and go nationwide with things. She's probably got her hands full right there in Nashville proper. So that being said, it's an amazing story. And that's a huge achievement. Exhibitor attendees, exhibitors at the show should pat themselves on the back for assisting in such a charitable event. We see this in our industry a lot. I know EDPA specifically has chapters that do charitable work. So we see that across, we have bowl-a-thons and all kind of golf tournaments and everything. So always raising money and helping those that need to be helped. And that's a great thing that this industry does. Like I said, should pat itself on the back. Let's dive into our rapid finish points so that we can wrap this one up. Challenges from Nashville that'll be looked at in San Antonio. Did you hear anything that might be concerning?
Not concerning, but you're never perfect. I know it's hard for me to say that, but I was never perfect. But I'm moving on. We're trying to figure it out. I think maybe we're reevaluating the square in the middle. We got a lot of great compliments that said they loved it. It was front, I guess, last year, and then it was in the middle this year. They loved the position of it, but maybe we reposition more. These are minor things compared to what we thought, could have happened. There's always I always say when they start picking on the little stuff, you did a really good job. But I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I don't want to focus on the negative. I just know that we've been listening to everyone. We're going to improve a lot of things for San Antonio. We're going to start working on the themes and and on the look and feel and everything in probably the next couple months, because we're trying to get ahead of the game. And we're starting to get more communication out there ahead of time. We are going to keep the tech tours, which I said earlier, which were really well. I think it was fun when we were on site and we just sat there and we watched them all go by and they just wave at us. So that was a fun little thing. And the Tech to Grow, we're going to expand that a little bit more, bringing these new companies. They're not technology though. So I think that's where we kind of need to enhance that a little bit. It's just new companies, really supporting that new company that wants to get in front of an audience they would normally never be able to do if they didn't have, this ability to do so with the cost associated with it. So I think it's trying to help those new people coming in to show their wares and supporting that. So those are the few things we're trying to work on.
2-day exhibits versus 3-day. I know that was different for me. For me, that was different. So I'd like to hear your.
Did you like that?
Yes and no. Yes, because we were able to be more effective with our time because you're concentrated on that time. So that's a pro. And the only con I could think of is we're used to it used to be a certain way. You ever heard this before? Well, back in the day, it was this way.
Move on.
Yeah. Okay, but and I heard some of that. I was real tight with my schedule. I didn't have enough time. I heard a little bit of that. Just curious what you got.
Here's my thing. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So it's one of those that if it's 3 days, it's too long. It's 2 days, it's too short. So, you're kind of in this weird, and it also says there's no front and end. So do we do a keynote, a general session in the front end and expand it that way? So, so you have the president and CEO talking in front of them and getting his message across in the front where everyone can hear and listen, as opposed to, doing it at the back end. So there's a lot of rethinking about what we're doing. It's, again, I will go back, waiting for the surveys to come back. This group is never shy to give their opinion on anything. So we value that, and it might not change. We might do subtle changes for next year, and it might just continue on and on. But I'm waiting for those surveys to come back to see if it's a 2-day or 3-day.
I don't think anybody can argue that the experiential activations that were on the floor were very over the top this
Weren't
year.
they amazing?
They were great. And I see that as a continuing trend. I know we went outside of our comfort zone and did something that was geographically based. And I'm sure we're going to do the same thing or something similar in San Antonio. And as long as people continue that, I think the attendees are the winners in that situation.
Well, I want to say something about that. I was on a few calls with some sponsors, potential sponsors with Lauren, our head of sales marketing. And she, I finally listened to back and forth. I finally said, you know what? I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make them drink. So it is up to you I can give you the people, I can bring the audience into you, but it's up to you to create that experience. And if you can do that, then you're going to get, but there were people there, and I think you saw that they only had 10 by 10 booths and they were full, or they said they had great conversations with everyone. So I really kind of say, yes, we can do about 80% of it, but the last 20% of it is that customer interaction and how you bring and what you're bringing value to them. So.
Good statement. Final point. We found out today that the exhibitor group will be sponsoring the upcoming ECA Legislative Action Day. Happens the end of May. We'll have more information as we draw closer, but Exhibitor Now will be on site. We'll be interviewing all the attendees and getting feedback as we encounter this very important time when we have that day in Washington to share our sermon with the people who represent us. So really excited about that.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to meeting new people with new ideas and understand what we need to look forward to or what we need to promote in the future and be a voice of some sense. So that'll be an incredible day for us.
2024 is going to be exciting. The big show is behind us. Now it's time to move forward. From the Exhibitor Now podcast.
And remember,
the Exhibitor Now podcast. Give us 30 minutes and we'll give you everything you need to know now.